Alrighty, so for the point of starting off this press conference, I'm going to introduce myself because, of course, this situation and case has been spread across the world. So I don't want to assume that everybody that hears this press conference know who I am. My name is Minister Dominique Alexander. I'm the president and founder of the Next Generation Action Network, the North Texas' largest human and civil rights organization. I would like to thank the members of the media, community leaders, clergy, organizers, concerned citizens who have supported during this situation. We are only yet a few weeks from the trial of Carmelo Anthony, which is scheduled to begin on June 1st before the Collin County 292nd District Court, where the Honorable John R. Roach is presiding. I want to be very clear. From the beginning, the Next Generation Action Network is not here to interfere with the case. We are not here to try this case in a court of public opinion. We are not here to disrespect the courts, the judge, the legal process, or the jury system. Our organization is here because we believe in due process. We believe in a fair trial. We believe in justice for all and not just some. We believe that race should never be a factor on whether a person receives fairness under the law. The Next Generation Action Network became involved in this case from the very beginning when we witnessed the oversaturation of hate, misinformation, demonization, and directed at a young man before anybody knew him. We saw a rush to judgment. We saw people attack his character. We saw people call him names. We saw people demonize his family. We saw the rise of racial biases outside of hate, white supremacy rhetoric being used to shape public narrative before the legal process had even begun. This is why we stepped in, not to interfere, not to inflame, not to control the criminal case, but to support on a basic principle that every person, regardless race, color, creed, background, or sexual orientation, deserves the right to due process in fairness under the law. Dr. King reminds us that injustice everywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, and that principle guides us here today. I want to clarify the role of the Next Generation Action Network. Since the beginning of this case, we've had certain titles be spreaded out and saying Dominique Alexander is the so-called family spokesman. And let me be clear, Carmelo Anthony is on trial, not his mother, not his father, not his siblings, not his family. This is a criminal case. There is no need for people to attack his family, harass his father, showing up to a job, targeting loved ones, behavior that is wrong. It is cruel. It is unnecessary. Nothing of the effect has anything to do with justice. Since the beginning of this case, I have literally had to step in when this father has had people come to his job, his place of work, a job he had long before this case. And yet I know that this father has not been able to work because of that, because of people's oversaturation of being able to not only attack the Anthony family, but also even attack our organization. But you know, one of the things that I've always said is that the Next Generation Action Network is built for this, okay? We're not an organization that was founded yesterday. We're an organization that was founded in 2014. We organized the largest protest in the history of Collin County in McKinney, Texas in 2015 after the pool party incident. We understand what racism and bigotry and currently what's going on in America. And like I said, we're not interested in trying this case in the court of public opinion. He has attorneys. There are Mike Howard, and I believe there are a number of co-counsels. The Next Generation Action Network's role in this situation has been from an advocacy standpoint. We're not a law firm. We are an organization when families and people see themselves in situations that they never saw themselves before. We are people that they call to be able to navigate this process. Now, I felt like it was important to have this press conference to not interfere with the process of stopping or trying to, mess up what Judge Roach is currently doing with being able to make sure that this case is not tried in the court of public opinion. We all have saw the rulings that have came down in regards to this trial. There will not be any cameras allowed. There will only be a certain amount of seating inside of the courtroom. The Next Generation Action Network as an organization's position is to respect that process. And we ask that everyone who decides to attend would respect that process as well. Even if you are a supporter of Carmelo Anthony, the ultimate supporter of Carmelo Anthony is a supporter that comes with peace and love. We are here to make sure that a trial goes on without outside interference. So it's important that I, as the Next Generation Action Network's president, calls for calmness, calls for respect to Judge Roach. I ask that everyone, just like we saw that the judge that was on the case for the bond hearing, the attacks that went against that judge's life is just unspeakable. And I know that we have experienced a number of death threats and a number of threats to the organization, but our organization gets that every day. But everyday citizens and people who are only just doing their job, this should not be in America just because you disagree with somebody. Judge John Roach Jr. is the judge, and he has put strict rules on this high-profile case. And our organization's position is to make sure that you respect the process of the court. Now, let me say this real quick. Since the beginning of this case, whether you go on Instagram, whether you go on TikTok, whether you go on YouTube, every day there is somebody putting something out about this case. And a lot of times people tag me in that situation, thinking I'm going to respond to everything that is currently going on in regards to this case. I am not. That's the reason why I wanted to make sure that we came out with our statement right now. And this will be the final time that I speak to media or speak to the public about this case until this case is yet over. Because I do not want to interfere with the case. But what I don't want to do is have someone lie and say that the Next Generation Action Network is doing this. The Next Generation Action Network is calling these people to come to Collin County. They're acting a fool. I don't want the lies. And our organization has been lied on too many times in regards to this case. So I want to make sure to those who support Carmelo Anthony and his family, I want to say this. You are not supporting Carmelo if you come in confusion. You are not supporting Carmelo if you come in anger. You are not supporting Carmelo if your actions disrespect the court, disrupt the process, or creates distractions that harms the very cause you claim to stand for. We need peace. We need discipline. We need focus. We need revolutionary peace. Every day of this trial will feel like its own battle. But we must remain committed to justice, and we are asking that everyone who attends, everyone who speaks, everyone who posts, everyone who stands in solidarity, respect the courthouse, respect the judge, respect the court's rules, respect the legal process. Come in peace, come with discipline, come with purpose, and come with commitment to justice. It's important that I note that we ask that you continue to support Carmelo Anthony. We know that people have supported him financially, physically, and emotionally, and we want to continue to encourage that support. You can always go on Next Generation Action Network social media sites to be able to make sure that you're able to support him. Let me make this very clear. Carmelo Anthony is on trial. Not his mother, not his father, not his siblings, not his family. The Next Generation Action Network is here to support. We're not the spokesperson. We are an organization built to make sure that we can stand in the gap when families cannot stand in the gap for themselves. Justice for all means justice for all, not just some. This case should be tried in a jury of peers, not a court of public opinion. We must respect, no matter what you hear in the media, no matter what you hear from anybody, we're asking that you respect the process. It may be hard. It may be hard for me to even bear, but we must come with peace and understand that the life of Carmelo Anthony is in the hands of this jury and in this process. And I ask that you guys respect the attorneys that have to present the case. We know what's going to go on the other side. We know, even today, with me doing this press conference and talking today, I'm going to be reposted more than 1,000 times, and people are going to be talking about this and acting like they know all about the case. They know everything. They know it better than me, and I should shut up, we should shut up, we should do this, whatever. I don't care. I'm built for that. We've been doing this for a long, long time. So attacks towards me, Dominic Alexander, you ain't doing nothing but practicing and wasting your time, because I really don't care. And I'm pretty sure that people know from here in the last time I've publicly spoken about this case that I do not care about openly going on the camera and speaking about this case, because of course, when I look and meet and sit down with the Carmelo Anthony, I see a bright, very promising, smart young man that yet, at the end of the day, have to fight for his life in court. And I pray that everybody continue to hear my voice, and I hope that my leadership today continues to speak for itself to ensure that everybody, you ain't gotta like me, you ain't gotta like the work of the Next Generation Action Network, you ain't gotta like nothing about it, but I'm asking that you respect this process. I'm gonna open it up for questions.
Two questions real quick. So, is there a specific post that you've seen either for or against them that brought you to do this press conference? And have you ever seen that much worry for a case, here in any county around here?
The Next Generation Action Network has been involved with a number of cases, whether it was the trial of Amber Geiger or the trial of Roy Oliver or Aaron Dean, who killed Tatiana Jefferson. We've had levels of high-profile cases and situations, but of course, Carmelo Anthony's case has taken a whole new different turn, because you had outlets from out of the country that was reporting about this situation. You had media outlets that I never even heard of, the Western Journal, and people that came overnight reporting about this case, right? You had TikTok influencers, YouTube influencers. Everybody knew what went on about this case.
And like I said from the beginning, because the particulars of this case has a lot to do with a lot of minors and different things of that nature, it was only a little bit of things that the Next Generation Action Network could even make public. But, of course, leave it to the social media influencers. They were going to drag out every part of it. And every day I get a new tag, I get an email of somebody saying, hey, can you comment on this? Is this true? Or, you know, I'll wake up and they'll put something, and it'll be a very supportive post. And it'll be like, Carmelo Anthony is going to Howard University. And somebody asks me, and I'll be like, man, I don't know. That ain't what his daddy told me 2 weeks ago. You know what I mean? Like, it's taking a world of its own. And even if, like, I'm even saying from, you know, the racist white supremacists and all that, I'm even saying for some of the supporters and different things of that nature, is that I'm asking that everybody please get your information from credible sources to ensure that you're getting the right information, because I'm not going to go day 1, day 2, day 3. I'm not going to be responding to people, oh, is this true? Is this not true? Is this and that or whatever? And I want people to get prepared for it.
So is there a fear that we might get a lot of people outside the courthouse? Is there, thoughts of that? You know? I think
the Collin County Sheriff Department has put out a number of stuff or whatever of their preparation of that, right? Of course, we saw the attendance of the bond hearing. It was a lot of people there. And right now, we can't do nothing but prepare, right? We know that this has continued. Like, many people will say, oh, it hadn't been media reported, but every day on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X, there's somebody posting Carmelo Anthony's name every day. And those, not one day has ceased in the last 9 to 10 months, or the last year since this happened, because it's been a full year. Not one day has there not been a single post on the algorithms about Carmelo Anthony. Every day for the last year since this has happened. And you can verify it.
How is all
There's
this?
been a post.
I'm sorry. How has all this affected the family?
It's why I continue to say that Carmelo Anthony is on trial. Not his father, not his mother, not his siblings. It has affected his family very, very strong. And at the end of the day, this dad is not able to go to work because of the attacks. But at the end of the day, you know, I can't speak for them. But what I've seen is a family that has had to go through some unfair situations. And the attacks, how the system and somewhat responded to the safety of them when they were living in Frisco. And you know, it's just real hateful situations that have happened. Any other question?
You brought up teenagers, you know, because it's focused on a teenager. Mm-hmm. Is that also a worry that, you know, teenagers are sometimes out of control just because of their own thoughts, or like you said, because they get wrong information on social media?
Well, yeah, this case has taken a turn for many people to have their own opinions of the situation. And the only thing we can do as leaders is continue to ask for peace, calmness, respect of the court and the process. And I don't want this process to start without the Next Generation Action Network being on record that, no, Dominique Alexander ain't did this, Dominique Alexander ain't said this, because there were many things that came out. You know, there were people posing as the Next Generation Action Network weeks afterwards saying that we were protesting. They even created a flyer with our logo on it, right? And I had to come out and say, you know, we got better branding than that, you know. But at the end of the day, it's taken a turn for its own. And so many people say, well, how do you stop that? The only thing I can do is put my voice on the record right now. This is what my position is. This is what the position of the organization. So whatever someone decides to do, Don't call the Next Generation Action Network saying, who did y'all do this? No. We have official channels. When we're putting out a statement, that statement is on our social media. If we're putting out a statement, NGAN own our own media studio. We have opportunity to put out a video. There's no reason why somebody should literally be manipulated whether the Next Generation Action Network has said something about this case.
So we were hearing a lot of reports in the weeks afterwards about, people being doxxed and swatted, and she said people showing up at the dad's work. Did that stuff eventually stop, or is it still going on?
Every day there is something. We get mail here all the time. We have a little box back there in my office where it's letters, continued letters, and just obscene words. You know what I mean? Like, people threatening me saying, hey, I know where you live, I know where your kids live. Now, for the most part, at this point, the stuff happening to the house because they don't know where they live, right?
So they're still in an undisclosed place.
Mm-hmm. They don't know where they live, so that has been, but that has not stopped from the social media or whatever public place that they could show up or send some stuff or whatever. But I do know that a number of people that are involved in this, whether that's the attorney, and I can't speak for him, but I do know that there has been threats there, many different threats or whatever that has gone on around this case. So, in regards to what was happening in the immediate month of it, when this in Frisco, yes, it was every day, it was endless. But at the end of the day, all of the threats have been going in many other ways, via email and whatever way they can get a hold of the Anthony family. Any other questions? All right. So, with that being said, I just want to finally say this, is that we're going to respect this process. It's going to be a long, I don't know how long this trial will last, whether it's a week or it's a 2-week time period. I ask that people continue to support this family, support Carmelo Anthony. And at the end of the day, if you're not a Carmelo Anthony supporter or whatever it may be, all of this other stuff, I just ask that you, or you don't like me, just respect this process. Allow. This is the reason why we got involved in this case. It's because due process was being eroded. Judgment was being passed on a child that nobody knew. There are so many lies that are out there. But in this 2 weeks, every answer, every question, there will be an answer to that actual question during this 2-week process. And we ask that everyone come with peace. We ask that community leaders continue to echo my word. Clergy, organizers, pastors, say it even in your own congregation on Sundays. Respect this process. That's the only thing that we can do. And I ask that everybody continue to financially support this family on their gifts and goals, or whatever it may be. You know the public fund link. If you don't, you can go on the Next Generation Action Network site. But I want to thank everybody for attending today. And guess what? This will be my last time publicly saying anything about this case until after the trial. I don't care who emails me, who this, that, and the third. At this time, the Next Generation Action Network, it is clear what our role is. Our role right now is to be behind the scenes and continue to keep the community calm. It is not, we have no role in the courtroom, and we will not play a role in the courtroom or allow anybody to interfere with anything that is going on in the courtroom. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you.